It's a common sense recap of the big stories. It's Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
Well, joining us now, you guys, to talk about all of this and more is our own Brian Kilmeade, of course, great host here on 77 WABC. Brian, first of all, can you believe what Kamala Harris and also President Joe Biden have said against President Trump just in the last 24 hours? It is, to me, it's unconscionable. It's disgraceful.
It shows desperation. Number one, I'm not sure if he even pre-thought it. And as Joe Biden's case, one of his aides comes out and says, well, not many people are really listening, and it doesn't even have much reach. So what a put down that is for a sitting president. And then you have Kamala Harris sit there as vice president and call out her political opponent. I thought that was something that you should not do. Remember, we kept hearing about the Hatch Act. You shouldn't really bring politics into governing. So she did that anyway, and of course didn't take any questions after. But she is disastrous, and I would think more challenging than Bret Baier because just because of the pace of it. I think she caught by surprise. Her NBC interview yesterday was horrendous. I mean, it's as if she just dropped from another planet. She had no answers to anything, from abortion to Joe Biden's mental condition to transgender surgeries. It was like as if these issues all crept up on her.
Yeah, you know, it was amazing. And I saw that, too. And I kept thinking the moment also where she was asked about Joe Biden's fitness. And to her credit, Hallie Jackson at NBC said, well, it goes to your integrity. It goes to whether people can trust you. And you are running for the highest office in the land. And she was like, you'll have to ask Joe Biden. She goes, well, you wouldn't be here. You know, you wouldn't be in this position. You wouldn't be running if Joe Biden was fine. And she kept saying, I couldn't believe this. She kept saying he just had a bad debate, like it was a one-off. I mean, who would believe that, Brian?
Rita, you know why? Because she's gotten away with it since July. And she said he had a bad debate. She went defended him on CNN. He had a bad debate, and that's worked. And now there was a follow-up question. We don't officially know from the Biden side why he's not running, because he doesn't even admit it. He went on The View and they asked him, and he didn't even admit it. And then you see this sparring back and forth at the funeral with Obama, and it looked as if she was saying that my numbers are better than hers, and Obama's out there, the veins popping out of his skull, so angry that Trump is actually winning, that he might be doing better with minorities than he should. And that's not the joyful campaign we thought we were going to get. So I'm just wondering what the message is. So your message is, I will not be like Joe Biden. Well, who are you going to be like then? Well, I have an 80-page economics proposal. And, okay, it makes no sense. And some of it is taxing unrealized capital gains, which even Mark Cuban, a great surrogate, said, if I thought that she was going to do that, I wouldn't even endorse her.
Yeah, and by the way, there was a story recently that he might consider a position if he was asked to do something in the Trump administration. You talked to President Trump, Brian. Fill us in on some of the big headlights. Congrats.
Well, number one, they came out just as I even said this and talked to other people who are in the military. I said, look for Kelly and Mattis and Tillerson, who's the Secretary of State, is first, and look at Mark Milley. They're all going to come out and they're just going to say that Trump is not fit, because if you read the books, the hit books, they never got along. Even books that write in support of Trump, there was friction constantly. So he's going to come out when it looked like Trump could win. They will call a press conference, but instead, using the Atlantic, General Kelly came out. Now, I've met General Kelly; he's done great things for the country, but he did not get along with Trump. Thought he was unworthy. So it did not surprise me that this story comes out. Mark Milley says he's a fascist. Really? Did you think that when he named you in that position? What do you think of Joe Biden? Joe Biden is the one who pulled us out of Afghanistan, who got us into this mess in the Middle East, who's denying weapons to Israel, to in Ukraine, still denying Ukraine the ability to use their weapons to hit Russian positions. That, to me, is a problem. But these generals have a problem with Trump's attitude. And that's what came out today. That came out after my interview, or would have been my lead question to the former president. But he feels great, or at least he did, at this point. He feels like he's hitting on all cylinders, got plenty of energy, and could not believe that she was doing nothing yesterday and very little today.
Absolutely. And everybody, we're talking to Brian Kilmeade, who just did a big interview with Trump. Judge Weinberg.
Brian, do you think this is the so-called October surprise, rallying all these people to attack Trump personally based on the people who are disgruntled from their association with him in the White House?
Yeah, and I think that, you know what, Trump's a fighter. He has people on his side. I mean, those Congressional Medal of Honors winner. I'm thinking of David Bellavia. I'm thinking of Mike Walsh, Green Beret. You got General Kellogg. There's a lot of people in the military who desperately want Trump to win, who are embarrassed by this current foreign policy and posture. I think he should counter it the way he did with when they came after him after the Access Hollywood tapes. And that was something that, that was the October surprise.
By the way, where were these people when they made the Pentagon woke? Where were they to stand up on that? Trump never would have let the Pentagon go woke.
Well, and by the way, you guys, some of these generals that we're mentioning, at least some of the names have been in some of the documents that have come out recently saying that they didn't want the military on January 6th, remember? And also, let's not forget the claim against Milley that he tipped off the Chinese about some plans that Trump was doing. How is that not, Rudy Washington?
I felt he should have been held for treason at that point. General Kelly was gone, but Milley definitely was there and orchestrated the withdrawal from Afghanistan. Under Trump, he would have been fired, right? And he would have been disgruntled. All the generals that were involved would have been fired. I mean, so the only person held accountable was Colonel Scheller. And he was the colonel that was so incensed at what these people had done.
He was telling the truth, so
he was telling the truth, and they put him in jail. They didn't just put him in jail, Judge. I mean, that's a shame. I mean, these are not quality people. I'm sorry.
Brian, your thoughts?
My thoughts is, as I said today, H.R. McMaster wrote a book and brought us inside the first 2.5 years of Trump administration. He's not complimentary of Trump the whole time, but he's complimentary of a lot. You know what he said? I'm National Security Advisor, and I had to tell Mattis, you got to stop undermining the president. I had to tell General Kelly, you got to stop undermining the president. He is the president. It's up to you to give him advice, but it's his decision. So if they thought he was unworthy for the position, and they think he's unworthy now, they think they know more, and they are down knee-deep in politics. General McChrystal wrote an editorial 3 weeks ago. I said, here we go. I'm looking for Petraeus to come out next, the same guy that got McChrystal, who got fired by Obama, who saw how our military degraded under Obama, saw how it got degraded under Biden, looked at a time in which we doubled the defense budget during the Trump administration and got a much more aggressive posture from Afghanistan on down, including ISIS, and said, I just don't think he's worthy of position. Well, the American people have a say in that. They had a chance with him and without him. So it does not surprise me to see them come out. I am surprised that they want to see if they can decide an election, because historically the generals who are told to stay out of politics and are discouraged from taking the uniform off and becoming secretaries of defense like Austin did. And now they said, no, I have something better. I'm going to actually campaign against Trump through these statements.
And by the way, Brian, you may have seen this too, but there are a number of people who've been interviewed who were in the room apparently when some of these quotes are coming out, and they said it did not happen. So, you have to also wonder who's telling the truth, right?
It goes back to the 51 intelligence agents that signed it. I mean, the word intelligence compared with them is oxymoron.
Brian,
Guys,
thank you.
I just don't know if it figures into I think this is baked in with Trump. They know he's going to be controversial. I think that I'm not sure this affects anything.
I think with the Democrats that did bad things in the last 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, they're trying to cover up. They can't allow Trump to become president, because he becomes president, then I think that they're going to be called to the task.
A lot of it exposed.
A lot of it exposed.
Yep.
And you know what I said yesterday, Brian? I said these people, these political appointees that tell the Border Patrol to let those people in, let those murderers in, maybe they're guilty of treason.
It's something that's going to be brought up. If nothing else, they're going to be rotated out. Most of the Border Patrol actually feels as though Trump is their best hope. Many are going to quit if he loses.
Yes. I've heard that from many of Border Patrol people.
Absolutely. Brian, thank you.
Brian.
Great job, Brian. Thank you.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.